you're going to know this face. You might recognize the name for sure. But tonight we're getting to know a man who spent nearly 4 decades helping East Texans prepare for whatever Mother Nature had in store. Mark Skirto became one of the most familiar faces right here out of our KLTV newsroom, guiding viewers through everything from beautiful East Texas days to some of the most dangerous storms we've probably ever seen. But tonight really isn't about the forecast. It's about the memories, the people, the storms, the funny moments, friendships, and experiences that stayed with him throughout his career. And now his life, it looks a tad different. So we're going to get to know him a little bit more and, learn more about his life beyond a weather map. So, Mark, welcome in here to East Texas
Thank
tonight.
you very much. It's nice to be back in familiar settings. It's really nice.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of learn a little bit of history about you because I sadly did not get to work with you, but I heard so many stories that I'm like, okay, we
Hopefully
have to
good.
talk about
Hopefully
this.
all good.
They're all great. They're all great. But when you look back on your years at KLTV, what's the first memory that really comes to mind?
The first memory, it's really difficult to give you a first, but maybe one of the more significant memories was when I was asked to go into our news director at the time, Kenny Bowles, God rest his soul, called me into his office and said, Mark, I got an idea. How would you like to grow your beard and be Santa Skirto? I said, what are you talking about, Santa Skirto? He goes, yeah, we've got an idea to help out the Salvation Army. You grow your beard, you turn it white, whatever you got to do. We've got a suit already ready for you. And then, Christmas time, we want you to go out and we'll find a location on the square or wherever, and we'll invite the kids from the Salvation Army to come and sit on your lap and let them tell you what you want for Christmas. And I said, well, that sounds great.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that sounds like a great idea. So we did that. The first year, talk about a story. We were on the square in downtown.
Okay.
It was cold. I mean, it was 37 degrees out.
Like fingertips numb cold or like toes aching cold?
37 degrees with about a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind
No, thank you.
blowing through
No,
the buildings
thank you.
in downtown. So it was unbelievable. And I believe the TJC brass band was out playing. And their lips were getting stuck to their mouthpieces on their trombones and their I'm telling you, it was that cold.
Oh my gosh.
So we did a few. The kids came up, sat on my lap, told me what they wanted for Christmas and all that good stuff. And we were wrapping it up because it was brutal. I mean, it was brutal. So we were wrapping it up, and I was walking off of my little Santa chair that they had set up for me. And this little old lady walked out of her car. She was 87 years old, and she came from Longview to see me.
Oh,
I'm thinking,
my
oh,
gosh.
okay, we're going to make sure that she gets what she needs. So she came and she goes, Santa Skirto, I just want to tell you, I have never had my picture taken with Santa Claus. And I'm 87 years old. Would you mind? And I said, are you kidding? Mind? I would be happy to do it.
That warms your heart a little bit in 37 degrees.
So we went back. I sat in my little chair and we took a picture. And that was really the first significant memory of Santa Skirto. But, it was a deal that we didn't know was going to last forever, and now I grow my beard every year, and I still do it, retired or not. I told Joe Terrell, our news director, and Pat Stacy, I said, I'm retiring August 1st. Would you still let me be Santa Skirto? And they said, absolutely, if you want to, absolutely. Well, that's
They're like, if you really want to, right?
So I'm here whether you want me or not. That is my fondest memory of, throughout the years is when we just made the decision to be Santa Skirto, and I think we've done it now for 26, 27 years, something like that. So it's pretty cool. Well, I love it. I love it.
Well, I can't help but see it. Every time you walk into the newsroom, there's so many people, their face just like lights up. So I have to
As
ask
does
you,
mine.
I have to ask you, coming back here, you've met so many people, you've been around so many people. I mean, we were just talking about people that I've interviewed that you're like,
Yeah. Stephen Parr, that interview was a fantastic interview.
It's just really cool to kind of see how many people have, made memories with you. What are some people or friendships that immediately come to mind when you think about your time here in the newsroom?
Well, first of all, Kenny Bowles, he was our ex-news director. Again, God rest his soul. I was there, the moment that he passed away, and it was very sad. And Cynthia, his wife, I pray for her often. But when I was 12, my father passed away, so I really didn't have a father figure in my life. The first here at the station was Barry Hansen. Barry Hansen worked here in production and commercial production and all that stuff for years and years and years. And I love the guy like he's my dad. I really do. Asked him lots of questions. We went fishing a million times, and then Barry retired, and I still talk with him every once in a while, but Kenny he was like a father figure to me. He and I, we played golf very often. I used to go sit in his office for no reason other than just to talk. And then Taylor Hemness, who moved here and went to Kansas City, he was, probably my best friend while he was here. And again, golf was a big part of that.
Yeah.
Since he moved away, we stay in contact with each other every once in a while, but, like Blake, he and I are very good friends, and there's just so many people that are still in this newsroom. Jason and Sarah behind this wall right here that you can't see. But, all these people are they're still, when I walk in here, my face lights up when I see their face.
That's awesome.
It's so nice.
So if you were to talk about your time here working for KLTV, and maybe even it could be a storm that came through here, is there something that pops up in your mind where you're like, this is something I will never forget?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.
There is no doubt about it. Now, when we got the storm tracker, which was the vehicle we still have, and we take it out during storms to follow the storms to make sure that people get updated on what's going on, live, in person kind of thing. And I was thinking to myself, I said, this is pretty cool. We'll go get maybe some video of storms safely now, and we still do it that way. I believe that Katie was out in the storm tracker, and she was headed toward Athens because we were looking at the storm that moved through Athens and went up through Canton, the big storm that moved through there. And again, I don't remember years. I'm sure lots of people do, but I just remember storms themselves. And Katie drove up on damage. There were no lights except lights from emergency vehicles, and you could see houses that were destroyed. Now, this may not be in Athens. I believe maybe it was a little north. But cars were messed up. Homes were messed up. No lights except, again, as I said, emergency vehicles. And when I saw that for the very first time, I was so emotionally moved that I just had to stop. I had to stop talking. I cried, and I'm a man, and men cry. But I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I said that was the first real impact on weather here in East Texas that I recall. I mean, it was that if people ask me all the time, what's your most significant memory, and that was probably it. Now there were other memories that are pretty big as well. A storm was moving through Lindale, and my son just moved there with his wife and kids. They were in Lindale, and I was looking at Storm Tracker, live Doppler radar, and I was noticing that it was moving right toward my son's house. I mean, literally, we could see down to street level, so we know where it is. It was moving right toward his house. Again, I stopped, picked up my phone, and I called my son. This is live on the air. People talk to me about that still to this day. Oh, I remember when you called your son on air. So I called my son. He answered the phone. I said, Mark, just want to let you know you're on the air with me right now. Is everything okay? And he said, yes, we just got out of our storm shelter, walked outside, and the tornado missed their house, I believe, by around 4 blocks.
Wow.
That's how close it was to their house.
I think I just got goosebumps.
Well, I do I do too every time I talk about it.
I'm over here like I got goosebumps, Mark.
But those are some really big memories. And of course, living in the studio for 6 days when we had the big ice storm a few years ago.
Well, that's what happens.
And that was during COVID too. So everybody was in masks. We had a kind of a makeshift weather wall that we put together.
Time.
It was cameras moved in here. I mean, it looked like a studio, but in the newsroom kind of thing. That was a big one too. And when we had that significant heat wave, I believe it was 72 or 74 days in a row where temperatures were over 100 degrees. So those are some. I'm sure there's more, but those are the ones that stick out.
That's good. Well, I mean, I'm glad that we get to talk about some of these memories because I already got goosebumps, and it's only been 5 minutes. Okay. Well, after recovering severe weather for such a long time, we talk about it all the time. The snowstorm. We talk about this with Katie a lot too.
Yeah.
snow. Have you seen a lot of snow in East Texas over the years?
I've seen quite a bit. About every 2 years we get at least some snow, and about every 5 to 6 years we get a good snow, and then maybe every 20 years we get one that just shuts the place down.
Like
And I'm not,
ice?
yeah, I'm from Western New York, a little city
Yeah.
called Lockport, New York, near Buffalo, and I've had my share of snowstorms in my life. That's why I don't like snow.
Yeah,
No,
I hear ya.
When I see that first flake, I'm like, no, really? But I remember significant storms here. I remember a Valentine's Day storm that we had that we woke. It wasn't forecast either. I'll admit it. We don't get them all right, but we do the best that we can. Went to bed on February 13th, and everything was fine, but cold. Woke up the next morning. I think there were 4 inches of snow on the ground, and that was quite a surprise. But it was the big ice and snowstorm that we had several years ago, where we're talking 4-5 inches of ice that was on Broadway.
Yeah.
There was
And
no.
if anybody knows, Broadway's a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
A lot of people drive down Broadway,
And
right?
nobody was.
Everybody
on the road.
knows that there's traffic on Broadway. Everybody knows. I can't imagine driving down Broadway on that thick of ice.
Well,
There's no way.
It would normally take me about 7 to 8 minutes to get to work on a normal day. Like
Yeah.
today, it didn't take me long to get here.
Are you sure?
Yeah, but that day it took me 48 minutes to get home, and I have a 4-wheel drive truck, and 4-wheel drive is good on snow. Nothing's good on ice, but it helps some. But I was going between 3 and 5 miles an hour all the way home when there was a traffic light. And when why do you stop at a traffic light when nobody's on the road? But you
Yeah.
do, because you obey the laws. I would start braking by just taking my foot off the accelerator, and even my idle speed accelerated my truck, so I had to have my foot on the brake, just gently slowing down
Yeah.
for a long, long way.
Well, I mean, even when you do slow, or you come to a stop at a stop sign or a red light, whatever it might be, and there is ice, you slide.
You slide, and then you got to start again, which
Yeah.
is just
That's
as
really
difficult.
fun too.
Yeah,
That's really
right.
fun.
And
Really fun times.
And I remember there was one previous when my daughter was very young, and I just remember that Hannah. It was on her birthday, my daughter Hannah, and it was an ice storm that was so bad. I mean, that literally we had no power. I mean, the station has a generator, but nobody had power. So at the time, our news director, I believe it was still Kenny Bowles. He said, "Everybody, if you want to stay here, you can stay here. But if you want to go home, carefully, just go, because we got nothing. There's no power." So I went home, got there. I could hear trees snapping in the neighborhood. I mean, it was crazy. And what was even more strange is that our entire neighborhood was dark. South Broadway was dark. There were no traffic lights. You talk about eerie. This is at like 3 o'clock in the morning too. So I get home, and I could hear pine trees snapping in the neighborhood, and it was really a scary sound, because it's quiet.
It's frightening.
Except that noise. And we had a live oak in our front yard, and about 4 o'clock in the morning, we hear this crash out in the front of our house, and our live oak split right down the middle. Didn't hit the house. It went east-west and was just laying in the yard, just split right down the middle. I mean, it's scary stuff. It really is. It's people say, "Oh, I love snow," but the ice is what's bad.
Well, let's talk about the complexity of, predicting weather, because I, for one, I'm not a meteorologist, and I can't tell you how hot it's going to get until Katie or somebody else
Right.
lets me know.
I gotcha.
How is it, that you came about not only just getting into meteorology itself, but getting to know a little bit more about how to predict the weather?
Well, when I was in 8th grade, my science teacher, Mr. Baines, this was up in Lockport, New York.
It's funny how you remember this, right?
I do, because these are memories that just stick with you, because they're big memories. I wasn't the greatest student in school. I was a B, C student, throughout my school years. And during our earth science class, we had a section on weather. And on my homework, I made hundreds. On my test, I made an A. And Mr. Baines saw something in me and gave me extra credit to do things to bring up my grade. And then after that, it was really one of those things where I said, "Oh, this might be something I could do." Because up and until that point, I wanted to be a priest. I mean, my whole young life, as altar boy and all that stuff, I wanted to be a priest. And then thinking, I might be able to do this. This might be something I could do as a career. And
That was that turning point for you.
it was
That's
a
when you
turning
knew.
point. And about 20, I think this was in 1999 when we took a trip with the family up to Lockport. We drove. I said, you know what? I wonder if Mr. Baines is still around, because he wasn't old. I mean, don't get me wrong, but he was probably in his 40s when he was teaching us.
Did he remember you?
The story is I found his address. I went up, knocked on the door, thinking, okay, he's going to come out here with a shotgun. Hey, what are you doing at my front door? He opened the door and he remembered me.
Wow.
He said, Mark Skirto, how are you? And this is this was probably in 1974.
Wow.
And this was 1999. And when he opened the door, he remembered me. So, he had an impact on me. Maybe I had a small impact on him as well. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's cool. That's good to hear. Well, I have a little bit of something to share, and I know that we have kind of talked about this, but Mac Shaw, he sent me a old clip from a 2009 newscast.
Oh, boy.
You invited some Cub Scouts, excuse me, into the studio because it was a really cold week, and you did a weather segment with them. So we're going to watch this, and then we're going to talk about it, all right?
Okay, you bet.
Storm Tracker Live Doppler Network, the most accurate weather where you live.
Well, I made it to Tenderfoot, and my sons both went through scouting, and one of my boys went through the Order of the Arrow, so they enjoyed their Boy Scouting life, along with their dear old dad as an assistant scoutmaster for Troop 333 in Tyler. Now, these are second-year Webelos. We've got RJ, we got Ben, and we got Mac. And it's cool, their last name sounds like a law firm. Torelli, Shaw, and Stacy. I'd hire them. I don't know. I don't know about this guy in the back. I don't know if, but anyway. So RJ, tell me why you like scouting so much.
Because you get to earn badges and go out on campouts.
Ben, what about you?
I guess the pocket knives and campouts.
You like all the cool equipment that you get to hand? Okay, and then Mac, what's your favorite part?
Pinewood derbies.
See, I was thinking the guys at 5 were going to say that. That's pretty cool, isn't it? I love the Pinewood Derby. And by the way, between 5 and 6, I found my polar bear patch. Camping below 32 degrees. So you got one too. Good gosh, I thought I was the only one in the room that had it.
Looking at that, I have to say,
Oh, boy.
there are a lot of memories, all right? Mac pointed out that the kid behind him was actually our general manager's son, Pat Stacy.
Okay.
His son was in that video as well. When you see something like that nearly 20 years later, what does it bring back for you?
Well, the first thing it brings back is that my assistant scoutmaster shirt fit. It might have been a little tighter then, because when I had my boys, Mark and Anthony, I was in scouts with them, and I was an assistant scoutmaster, so I had the shirt, and I can't believe it still fit. But it was always great to have kids come in and talk.
Yeah.
I have 17 grandchildren.
I was about to ask.
I have 4 kids and 17 grandchildren, and it's great to talk to them. It's really great to
Every
talk
day is an
to
adventure.
young people all the time. Young people just really just make my heart so happy when you talk to them. And he was talking about the Pinewood Derby. I did that when I was a kid in Boy Scouts,
That's
Cub Scouts. And
That's awesome.
yeah, and then my grandson did that. I mean, Pinewood Derby is it's a great thing. It really is. And
That's awesome.
and just being able to talk to young people, hear what they have to say.
Great.
It's
It's
great.
like a flood of emotions and memories that were just like, oh my gosh, I
yes.
used to do that, right?
Yeah, it was great. And the more kids that I talked to, during Project Tornado or whatever whatever it was, I loved it. I loved it.
Well, we'll get to Project Tornado here in just a moment,
Okay.
but I wanted to kind of, piggyback off of those emotions and so many things that, Andrew Tate has shared with us as well.
Okay.
Today he actually shared just a short story, and he says that he was fairly new at KLTV. His great-grandmother had a stroke, and he needed to go home to Illinois to see her. You supported him going home, but you also told him something about what happened, and if you needed anything, you would pray for him.
Yes.
And when you hear a story like that, a few years later, what does it mean to you to, also bring your faith into so many of your friendships with your coworkers as well?
And a lot of it is that, Andrew's very faith-filled. I believe that I am as well. And my wife, Beth, and our entire family, very faith-filled. But it gets you through really hard times.
It does.
To be able to sit back and pray. And a lot of time, I've told my kids this, and there was just a reading at Mass recently that, sometimes God does unusual things. Sometimes you hear his voice in the earthquake. Sometimes you hear his voice in a strong wind. A lot of times you just gotta shut up and listen. The smallest sound, it's like, sometimes it's like a butterfly.
He works in mysterious ways.
He really does, and you just have to. And it's
Sometimes it's humorous too. Sometimes it's very
oh,
humorous.
trust me, God has a big sense of humor,
He
and
does.
sometimes it seems like it's a little crooked. But no, I'm just kidding. But no, you're absolutely right. But a lot of the people that we've worked with, and people that are still are very faith-filled people. When Blake came into the Catholic Church, he asked me to be with him on that day. So, when he was confirmed, I was standing there right next to him with my hand on his shoulder. So that's the kind of people that I miss the most. Do I miss the work? No. Did I love it when I was here? Absolutely. I don't miss the work. I don't miss the stress. I miss the people.
Of course. Well, let's talk about those people because
Okay.
you talked to so many of them for Project Tornado. I want to know how it all got started.
Oh boy, that was a long time ago. That was in, I believe it was April of 1987. I was called into the news director's office. At that time, it was a gentleman named Terry Heaton. And Terry said, we need to set up some type of community service project where our weather team goes out and speaks to kids. And I said, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. What do you think we should do? He said, well, we'll put a video together and we'll get a little handout, little pamphlet for him to give him information. And that started Project Tornado, where we, during the month of April, and it's still that way to this day. At the time, we went out to 20 different schools during, one each day during April. It was me and another meteorologist that was here. We did that. So he did one, I did one, he did one, I did one. And it went like that for a while. And that gets really tiring. And there's a lot of work involved in that. But we still went out and met the kids face to face. I would just tell them weather stories that I had, throughout, the years that I was here. And we would just get to the kiddos, because my philosophy, I don't know if this was anybody else's philosophy, but my philosophy was, if you get to the kids, you get to mom and dad, aunts and uncles, grandmas, grandpas, older, younger, siblings, and they pass on that information. And let me tell you something, I went to Van Intermediate School. I believe it was one of the first few years that we were doing Project Tornado. I was out at Van Intermediate talking to the kids. It was I remember it was a great Project Tornado presentation, because I came out of there just feeling really good. 20 years later, on the 20th anniversary of Project Tornado, I said, the first school I want to go to this year is Van Intermediate School, because I believe it was the first one that we went to.
Yeah.
So I went to Van Intermediate School. It was the first one. And the great thing is, a lot of times the whole school comes, and that's great. So the whole school was there. Went great again. Very exciting presentation. The kids were great. They're always great, except for one time, but we won't talk about that. And these 3 teachers came up to me afterwards and said, man, we really appreciate Project Tornado. You're so good with the kids. You get down to their level. You don't go over there. I mean, they understand everything that you're saying. I said, well, thanks very much. So that's kind of the point. That's what we do. We just get down to their level so they understand.
Right.
And all 3 of them were there in that first presentation. They were students.
Wow.
And now they're teachers at Van Intermediate School.
That's awesome.
First thing that happened is I felt old right away.
No, not
I
San
said,
Bernardino.
oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh.
But that happened numerous times throughout, the second half of Project Tornado. I was there at, in Athens or in Nacogdoches, wherever we were. I said I was a student, and now I'm a teacher here, and the presentation is as good as ever.
Well, I know you have so many stories, but we're going to jump past it. We'll have to bring you back on for so
Okay.
much more because,
All right.
I mean, you've got a million stories that we could talk about for probably hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, he'll be back on at some point. But let's talk about your life now. You
Okay.
mentioned you have grand kiddos. I bet that they are all over the place.
They
You know,
are.
They're
They
very
are.
active. They're ready to go. And do they call you Grandpa or
Papa.
They call you Papa?
They call me Papa because when I was growing up, my Nana and Papa, they were my mom's mother and father, were just really cool people. I mean, my Papa was, when you're little, you think everybody's big, right? But I thought he was this big guy, and he was strong, and he was fun, and he just made me always feel good when I was at Papa and Grandma's or Papa and Nana's house. So I wanted to be called Papa because of that. And when I was confirmed in the Catholic Church, my saint name is Louis, and that was my Papa's first name. So he was a big influence on my life.
Well, when you look back on your time at KLTV, what is the memory that makes you smile the biggest?
Oh boy, gosh, there are so many.
I know. That's why I'm like, we have to have you back on.
Yeah, I mean, it's great friends, always, coming in, and there's always someone to talk to. If you got an issue, people listen. It was just so good, having it really, it's so hard to say what some of the greatest memories are. But, after I had my brain tumor and after I had my stroke, when I came back to work, the people were so welcoming and, do you need anything? And even when I was at home recovering during those two events, they came to the house, they brought me food, and those are happy times. Even though it's rough times, but those are very happy times.
So would you consider yourself truly retired, or do you think you'll always be up to something?
Well, with 17 grandkids, always up to something. Volleyball games, basketball games, football games. All that different kind of stuff. But no, I mean, they told me before I retired. They said you're going to be busier in retirement than you are when you're working. Yeah, they're right. And one other thing too, retirement, I highly recommend it. It's one of those things where, if you.
I think I'm too young to retire right now.
But the thing is prepare well. Prepare now. The younger you are, the quicker you start saving money and getting ready for retirement, the easier it's going to be when you say one day, I'm done.
Yeah, I hear you.
And my wife and I did good. We did everything we were supposed to do, and we have the means to be around for a long time and not have to worry about it.
Of course. All right. Well, you've got a lot of memories and so many stories. And I'm really happy that we got to have you on today, get a little bit of
Thanks.
background on you. And most people might have their own memories. If you do, I know we'll have this over on our social media as well. You can share some of those memories. I'm
Good.
sure you would love to see those.
I would, very much so.
All right. Well, Mark, I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point.
Thank you.